Welcome to the Talk Chamber. This next episode in our mini-series, Best of the Talk Chamber, features an episode with George Monger, the CEO of Connect Music. This was such a fun episode to sit down and record. George has so many insights on the music industry and on the business side of that. And it's important that in a city like Memphis, a city that is known for music, that we recognize that and that we talk about it. It was a really insightful conversation, so it's important that all of you take a listen.
From the economic perspective, it is no question that music can change the economic tide here. But everybody doesn't have to be on the stage.
I'm your host, Taylor Ann Carpenter, and welcome to The Talk Chamber, a production of the Greater Memphis Chamber. The Talk Chamber is the podcast for the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. Our guest today is a Memphis music mogul. George Monger, welcome to the Talk Chamber.
Taylor, thank you so much. And for those listening, don't you worry. I compensate her greatly to call me a mogul.
So let's just dive in. Go ahead and tell us about yourself. What is your connection to Memphis?
Sure. Memphis is number one place in my heart when it's places I want to see flourish and grow. Born and raised here. Went to the University of Memphis. Knew that I could have started this business on either coast because both coast and in some other areas have, some would say, a more vibrant music infrastructure and entertainment industry. But there's no better city than Memphis. And so this is why we planted our flag in the ground here.
I love that. I've said on the podcast before that music is one of my favorite industries here, and it's so vital to our culture and our city, which I know we'll jump into in a little bit. Yeah. But you're the founder and CEO of Connect Music. What is Connect Music, and how did you start it? How did it get its start?
Yep. So Connect Music is a music distribution company. So what the heck does that mean? It means that every time you go to your phone and open Spotify and play artists that choose to do business with us, our artist partners, there's a responsibility for us to deliver that music to those streaming services, make sure that the metadata is correct and the correct people are getting paid, both as artists and as writers or producers on the music publishing side. And so don't want to get too technical with that, but what we ensure is that the music is properly marketed, monetized, and it gets to the right person.
So when this was getting started, did you notice a problem in the industry and that's why you started it? Or is this a common business?
Sure. So the music distribution business is one that has been democratized with the creation of streaming. And so anybody can put music out anywhere. In fact, almost 3 million songs a month are released to streaming services. Wow. New music every month. The issue with that is how do you make sure the good stuff rises to the top? And as users of these streaming services, there's no way we can sift through 3 million songs. So our approach, rather than distribution being a massive focus, mass ingestion of content, we said we want to be intentional and surgical about who we serve so that we can super serve them. And so through that, it allows us to have strong relationships directly with Apple and Spotify and the other streaming services where we're having ongoing communication and conversations with them about music as it's growing through the ecosystem. So properly setting that music up weeks ahead of time so that when that music is released, you know about it. Making sure that there's the artist marketing component off the social platform. So much of life seems to be on digital devices, but there's still a critical in real life component. It's getting out to do podcasts, it's radio interviews, it's various real life marketing strategies and tactics that we get to apply for those artist partners we work with.
Now, you said you went to the University of Memphis. Did you study music business there, marketing? What was it?
Fortunately for you, I have no musical talent. I won't sing here today. So I went to the University of Memphis, Fogelman College of Business, economics degree. And so I believe we're at a really important point in the music and in all rights space that music business doesn't exist without the music, but also without the business. So I am fortunate to have experience working in the creative sector as a former chief operating officer at the Memphis Symphony Orchestra to a personal services manager for an opera singer. So I had a chance to see the creative component, and I've been able to couple that with the learnings and the economics background and finance, leading nonprofits and ultimately launching this company. And so I think I get to live the best of both worlds, and that I get to touch creative and hopefully empower and inspire, and at the same time make sure that we can put the economic relationship in place that is beneficial for all parties involved.
What is it about music that kind of drew you to the industry?
I think that it's the blend of something that's the antithesis of each other. Creative, typically, I want to create, and there's limited thought about the revenue. On the business side, there's a lot of thought about the revenue, but not a ton about the creative. And so how do you get to blend both of those when you are a lover and an appreciator of music, yet have no musical talent? So what I do is I get to hear it and admire and ask questions, while we also make sure that we benefit the creatives that we work with. And so beautiful opportunity for me to admire up close and personal, and make sure there's some economic benefit for all parties involved.
That's fascinating. The helping the artist in various ways. Let's talk about ownership.
Okay.
What does ownership mean to you? Not just in music, but also in a business and in a community.
That's a fantastic question, and so I actually think that that's a fantastic question.
We can take it bit by bit.
When it comes to creators and artists, so many times we hear artists and many years later say, I sold my rights and the majors, labels or publishers made me famous. They made themselves rich. Well, there's a paradigm shift in the democratization of music. When you go to 3 million songs a month being put out, now it's an opportunity to get the music out, but there's also an opportunity to maintain ownership. And so through maintaining that ownership, you can either self-fund it, or you can have a long-term partner where we license a lot of music, meaning you still own the copyright. We'll put some financing into it, but we have a long license. At the end of the term, either you can sell it, we can renew it, but you still get to control what happens. And many times for creators in the past, they lost those rights in perpetuity. Typical copyright law is life of author plus 70 years after death. There's some reversions that are taking place now for some sound recordings, but that's a real challenge historically in the music industry. And just candidly, one that inherently impacted African-American creators from the perspective that most music, even today, the top genre is hip-hop and R&B. Country's a distant second, and then there's sort of everything else from a genre consumption perspective. Now, when it comes to ownership of the business versus the community, again, I think they're opposite of each other. With the business, as an entrepreneur, we grow up thinking, I got to own 100% of it. That's the only way I'm going to grow this business and control this business. Well, it's really about enlarging the pie, right? So if the business is worth zero and you own 100%, it's worth zero. As you bring in equity partners and debt and you understand your capital stack, it becomes, how do we leverage our human capital? Typically that brings cash in as well from an investment perspective to achieve the overall vision and strategy of the business. And so for us early on, it was important for me to make sure that we built a business that could scale, which meant we required outside dollars, not just me. From that, that came with great relationships. Not dumb money and relationship. And through that, we've been able to grow the business since starting in 2020, 100% year over year for the last 5 years straight. And we're expecting to be the same in 25.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's been a fantastic team effort. I've got a great group of employees and partners in the business, and it couldn't be done without them. Now, fractional ownership is okay in business. I think the opposite when it comes to our community. Think about it. We only own a little wedge of real estate in this city and county. But we've got to have a pride about every corner of this city and county. And that has to be, I'm as concerned about the hole in your side of the boat as I am if it was on my side. Because if there's a hole in this boat, the whole boat sinks. I think we've got to assess our value to ownership, whether that's real estate in your business or personal. We've got to care about more than our property lines, and that's across the city. And so I think that the pride of Memphis has to continue to show through, not just on 901 Day, but every day.
100%. We just recently celebrated 901 Day, and so afterwards, the team here at the Chamber, we were talking about how we want to celebrate 901 Day every day.
That's right. That's right. How do we show up for a community that's been unbelievable to most of us here? How do we show up every day and be our best on that day every day?
Right.
And that's what we all have a responsibility to do.
Let's talk a little bit about music in Memphis and that, the economy there.
Sure.
Why is music integral to our community? You've talked about it a little bit, but I want you to expand on that.
Music is integral to Memphis in a few ways. Number one, we're known historically as the home of American soul music. We should live and build on that. I don't think that we should limit the community to just what we have been as a tourism component. I think that's great, but I think we have to build on that, because when you look into the late 80s, early 90s, then there's so much that Memphis is responsible for the creation and growth of hip hop and R&B. And I think for a long time we didn't embrace that. We sort of ran from that. And I think there's more openness as we continue to see Memphis continues to create creative producers, writers, and artists that continue to grow across the world. And unfortunately, there's always been sort of an exodus of creators out of Memphis. And so much of that is because we lacked having that infrastructure here. And so when we placed our flag in the ground here, we encourage others to do the same. And so its value to us, I think, is that it's one thing that we always have that pride about. And we're intentional about continuing to grow culturally in that way, especially with our creators and producers.
I mean, you just look at our history as a city, and we see, B.B. King, Elvis Presley, of course. Then we've got, 3-6 Mafia.
That's right.
We've got Glorilla. We had Justin Timberlake in the early 2000s.
Yep.
And I know that's just 5 people that I just listed.
Right.
But I know that there's so many more.
That's right. And if you look on the credits of so many of the records across Billboard, there's always a tie back to Memphis. And even when I travel between Los Angeles and New York, if you go into a room, if it's somebody I hadn't met before, oh, where are you guys up from? Oh, we're from Memphis. Oh, man, there's always a story about Memphis. There's always a level of appreciation and respect for Memphis from a creative perspective. And that's something that I'm always proud of as we move about and beat the drum for Memphis.
Yes, I mean, even those 5 people, we've got so many more
That's right.
that have done incredible work in songwriting, in instrumentals, in producing, in things here in Memphis also. Like they're not just always leaving. We've got people here.
That's right. And we see more and more infrastructure coming online here in the music landscape. More studios, more competitors to our business, which again is good. We can't sign every deal. Music publishers, so many of the creative, ancillary creative assets that we need for videography, cosmetology, et cetera, to support the music industry. We continue to see that grow. And in fact, thanks to the Memphis City Council and the Greater Memphis Chamber, the Sound Diplomacy Report was one that fantastic to outline where our strengths are and where we have opportunity to continue to develop. This can be a game-changing economic sector for Memphis. And so I continue to believe and bet big on what the music industry will be here.
I'm glad you bring up the economy and the economics of it. So why is music integral to our economy? We talked about the community. Let's talk about economy.
From the economic perspective, it is no question that music can change the economic tide here. But everybody doesn't have to be on the stage. The amount of folks you need to have a successful live show, those are real salaries. When you produce an album, those are real producers. They need a real studio. They need a real mixing engineer. These are real jobs that pay real money. And what we see even from our side on the distribution side of the business, which is how that typically works, is you work with an artist directly or you work with the label. In either case, there's going to be a producer that creates the record, brings the folks together. There's going to be a songwriter. There's going to be a mixing engineer. Now in Dolby Atmos, there's going to be a Dolby Atmos mix. And again, these are things that are hundreds of dollars per hour for those creative services. Then you're going to need your marketing folks. So if you're getting ready to market an album, you're going to need a videographer for the promotional videos. You're going to need your street teams if you're doing any ground in real life activations. So there's so many jobs that are created just to get a project out. So yeah, we see that one artist, number one, number two on Billboard, number 10 on the charts at all, which is a huge accomplishment. But there are hundreds of thousands of dollars that went into getting there. And that money has an opportunity to be right here.
You named at least a dozen jobs that somebody could have in the music industry that's not being, the face of a song or something.
That's right. That's right.
And that's so important to our economy. I mean, the jobs make up a huge portion of what we do here at the Chamber.
Yes.
And I love to just think about all the things that it takes, because even with a live show, you need somebody who's going to
backline.
Yep.
Right. Lighting.
Yes. Somebody who can help tear down and set up
That's
the
right.
stage, especially at places like the FedEx Forum, where it doubles as a few things, because we've got
That's
the
right.
stage there, but then we have our Grizzlies and our Tigers playing there. So the stage isn't always there.
That's right.
You've got to have those people. And that just provides so many different jobs for us. And, I don't think Memphis would be the same. Our economy would be the same without the music industry.
No doubt about it. And it is a huge growth opportunity. Every chance I get, I make sure that we're advocating for our music streaming partners to visit Memphis, and make sure that we continue to, again, when I talk about owning the city. I was on the phone 2 months ago with a major music publisher. There are three of them.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, Warner, Universal. It was one of the chairman and CEO. We were working through a transaction, and he said, "I love Memphis. I'm scared to come." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, I just hear it's not safe." And I told him, I said, "Next time you come to Memphis, let me get with you." He said, "Oh, I used to visit all the time when I was in the 90s when we had some key artists down there. I was at another company." I said, "No, Memphis is a fantastic city. It's a great place to be." So I shared that information with Ted Townsend, and Ted gave me stats right away. And I just followed up with the chairman and CEO of the major publisher, and I said, "Here's just some context for you, because I take that personal, because this is where I live. This is where my son is growing up." And so through that, I got another call. We want to go explore the blues trails. Can you help me make that happen? We're celebrating a loved one's birthday. And so some coordination from our team and their team, we were able to do some fantastic things. I got a note in my phone that says, "We as a family had a fantastic time in Memphis. Thank you for hosting us. Thanks for making this happen. It was really special for us." But to your earlier question, that's our responsibility to own this community.
Ownership of the narrative.
That's right.
Say the good news.
That's
if you
right.
want the good news out there, if you want people to not say, "Oh, I don't like Memphis."
That's right.
You have to be the one to say, "I like Memphis, and here's why."
That's right. And so I believe we picked up about 10 advocates for Memphis and their experience here on the ground.
That's what we like to hear over here at the Chamber. 100%. So you mentioned in an article with the Memphis Business Journal a while back, you said that music and business are, quote, "the perfect solution to economic growth." Can you explain what you meant by that? Tell us how.
Sure. It's very simple. And we talked about it a lot today. It's how the creatives create, earn a living, change the economic tide for their family, but all the jobs and work that goes into it from the business side. That's there's a contract between the producer and the artist. That's a legal fee. There's a cost of doing business with us and the artist. There's another legal fee. There's the live recording to create the content. And so all in, there's more than a dozen folks involved in getting music out, and that's all music. And so as we continue to build the infrastructure, people bet and believe in Memphis again as it relates to a creative industry. It's a huge opportunity for us to grow. I think I want to take a moment just to say Music Export Memphis is a local nonprofit that's evangelizing the opportunities for creators in Memphis. And I came off their board recently. And one of the things that I loved about their out-of-town marketing was musicians wanted just a billboard in major cities that were known for music to outline the incentives and the opportunities and why Memphis. We've got to do more of that. Folks have a tremendous amount of respect for what Memphis has done. They should be a part of what Memphis is doing.
Say that one more time. That was good.
It was flowing. So sometimes the truth flows. It doesn't just hurt.
So how do you balance the cultural responsibility of being a Memphis-based founder with the national growth strategy?
Yep. It's about being unapologetically Memphis. It's about making sure that there's a thing being in this city. We coined the phrase with the sports team, grit and grind, right? But there's a hustle about how we do things here. That hustle transcends or translates in every market. That hustle is, I'm probably the first person that's emailing you in the morning, and I'm probably the last email you see at night, because the grind for us is around the clock. We punch above our weight class since the day we launched the business. We have a couple new releases that'll be announced shortly. And these are artists who were in negotiations with major labels with 10, 12x multiple of monthly revenue compared to our business. And we show up and compete, right? And our network is broad. We continue to say what we do and do what we say as an operating system mantra for us.
That right there, that's what Memphis is about.
Yeah, no, I agree.
How can our business community support our music ecosystem?
That's a great question. I think the number one way that our business community can support the music ecosystem, we have to make sure from the creative side, we have to make sure that these artists are compensated. If you have live music in your wedding, birthday party, restaurant, these artists have to be fairly compensated. That exposure is not currency. Currency is currency. And we first have to make sure that these creators are being paid for their live works. We then have to make sure there's opportunity for them to collect sales and marketing data to folks who show up and hear and participate with them. And then we just have to make sure that as we see growth in our artists' careers, regardless of who their distribution partner is, we've got to make sure we're resharing. It costs us nothing on social media to reshare, right? So if we see a Memphis artist that we heard at a live event before, your extra 50 folks times their extra 50 folks creates virality.
Mm-hmm. We had an event recently, I think it was back in June, and we hired a local musician, and I hit that follow button. Now I'm liking all their posts, sharing their posts, those kinds of things.
That's right.
It's just, there's simple ways that you can support them by just, simply being a fan of their music.
Right.
But then if you have the opportunity to hire them and compensate them, hire them.
Yes, indeed. And real compensation.
Yep.
And artists have to be compensated to build the stable of live artist performance. So while we're not in live music business or live events business, that's one of the critical things that I see as a responsibility of our corporate responsibility across any business.
Right. And it takes people who have, the ability, the voice to say that to the business community. It takes a business owner, it takes a CEO to be able to call out other CEOs and say, hey guys, let's get on board. Let's do that.
Well, consider me calling them out.
You heard it here.
We've got to do that. We've got to take care of the creatives.
Yep. I mean, we've already talked about how important they are to our economy. We've talked about how important they are to our community.
Yes.
And then we just think about the culture of who Memphis is and what we do and what we're known for in the past is still something we want to be known for in the present.
That's right.
And in the future.
It's a booming industry. The recorded music industry, according to Goldman Sachs, by 2030 will be a $30 billion annual industry in recorded music. Another $12.5 billion in compositions, words, and melody. So it's a huge opportunity as the industry continues to mature and grow in the streaming sector.
I want to go back to Connect Music and talk about what's next. Tell us, what does the next 2 to 3 years look like?
It's all about growth, right? It's continuing to scale our roster, continuing to enhance our artist partners teams. That is the marketing teams, the press PR, our sales strategy and team. I'd like to see a lot more of that happen here in Memphis. We have a team spread across the country right now. I want to put more people in our headquarters. I really want to see that growth. Again, I mentioned we've grown 100% year over year since launch, and I want to see that benefit this city as we export that talent all around the globe.
Now, did you say earlier when did Connect Music start?
So we launched in 2020, July 30th, 2020.
Okay, so
in the middle of a pandemic.
Right. I was going to say that sounds like a rough time to start business, but here you are growing.
Yes.
Huge congratulations, because that's, that takes grit and grind.
Yes. Well, and what it takes is what most of this conversation has been about. It takes infrastructure. In, 2010, 11, 2012, there's a fantastic gentleman, Phil Trineri, and Duncan Williams standing at the Peabody Hotel at the annual chairman's luncheon talking about a concept of moon missions and the infrastructure we needed for 1,000 entrepreneurs in the next 10 years. And when it was time for me to be an entrepreneur, there was infrastructure there. There was the epicenter, which was through the creation of those moon missions. It was a legal community equipped to handle safe notes versus convertible notes before getting to equity investment. Without that infrastructure, I don't know that we could have scaled over the last 5 years without that creative community. So the chamber moon missions have real impact, and that's why I think so much of this conversation about infrastructure is critical, because I've experienced that work when I think about that moon mission some 10 plus years ago.
It's time for another moon mission.
Indeed.
And that just, again, reminds me of what we already mentioned is the Memphis Music Strategy Report that the city, the chamber, Sound Diplomacy, and I believe a few other partners put together. And for those of you who have not looked into that, I highly suggest it. Read the key takeaways or read the whole thing. I read the whole thing. And there's a lot of good information there about the state of our economy in terms of music and state of the industry.
That's right.
And as well as recommendations and things that we can do to improve, because, that's the only way to grow is through improving and recommendations. Like,
that's right.
So I just wanted to say that again, because I highly recommend it for everybody. It was very eye-opening and fascinating at the same time to get a glimpse into the industry.
It was a great report. I think it dug deep, right questions asked. I think there is a blend between the arts and culture and entertainment. So much we talk about arts and culture, and that's typically viewed from the philanthropic lens. Mm-hmm. The opportunity remains in entertainment, and the next time there's a need to support arts and culture, there should be an entertainment sector to help with that. Just using COVID, for example, arts and culture suffered tremendously through COVID and depended on so much of the corporate sector to sustain artists, et cetera. It sure would be great to have a robust entertainment industry to reinvest into some of the philanthropic needs of arts and culture. So I think at some point we have to think about ACE, arts, culture, and entertainment, and how we continue to grow all three components and not hyper-focused on the philanthropic piece.
I'm excited to see where the strategy and the ideas and the people who worked on that. I'm excited to see what comes next with that and where we go from there, because I think a lot of what's in there, even just piece by piece, will transform the infrastructure of our music economy.
No doubt about it. No doubt. It's a fantastic report.
So I've got one last question for you. What advice do you have for emerging entrepreneurs or artists who want to build something impactful but may lack the access to traditional capital?
I go back to what resources we have here. We have to make sure that we have an entrepreneur center like Epicenter to get entrepreneurs the information that they need. And then we've got to do more around our access to capital. My experience is we are, as entrepreneurs, and particularly as a Black entrepreneur, we are over-mentored and underfunded. And so because of that, we'll have a lunch and learn about taxes. Well, that's great. All right. Can you point me to specialized legal services and perhaps a grant for IP copyright or IP protection, right? There's a gap there that still needs to be filled, and from a services perspective in the community, but we have some great infrastructure and starting points. Again, Epicenter. I think the next piece is making sure that we are able to perfect that story tale with folks who get it and understand it, where we're wanting an organization to go. I think another opportunity we have for traditional access to capital is leveraging the CDFI network. Just candidly, I didn't experience or see it work very well in its current form. I know there are many entities. In fact, even a couple days ago, we were working through a transaction. We just decided to do it with traditional banking, but it should have been a very easy transaction for a community development institution to do. But it was such an onerous process. We just did traditional financing. And fortunately, we're at scale to do that. But we've got to remove barriers to access to capital as businesses need to go to the next level. The other thing I think is important for us to identify how we're going to structure the debt capital stack, because there's a tremendous private credit market, more than $1 trillion of opportunity. And I can only think of one entity that knew anything about it, and that's Preserver Partners and the late Dr. Floyd Tyler, who deeply understood that space and was a critical partner in our growth in the early stage.
I have one more question for you. What is your call to action for Memphians, for our business community, for whomever is listening to his podcast?
Sure. I think it's so many of the things you touched on, and they all revolve around one thing. It's about ownership. We've got to own our future. We cannot let a set of bad actors in our community define this community. We cannot let a governor or a president define this community. This community is defined by what we make it. And so the responsibility we have from every corporate executive to every entrepreneur is to make sure that we give Memphis our best as we work to build for the future.
George, thank you so much for joining me today.
Taylor Ann, thank you so much for inviting me, and I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Talk Chamber. We are so glad you're here. Memphians, it's time to take ownership. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, or maybe even a client. Subscribe to The Talk Chamber to keep up with the latest on the chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. Follow us on social media at Memphis Chamber, and we'll see you next time.